Well, hello everybody and welcome back to our 10th episode. We made it.
Da, 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 da. Sorry, I thought we needed an intro.
No.
It is. It's episode 10, which I think we're naming Triumphant
10.
It's a good name, isn't it?
It really is. And we've got a special guest for you in today's episode. It's going to be a good one. We're talking about lots of interesting things. Fashion industry. What else did we talk about, Dan?
The fashion industry, employment, challenges as a disabled person, make or break moments in our careers.
Gosh,
the list is endless. In fact, this is possibly going to be the longest podcast we've
3
ever
hours.
done. No, it's not 3 hours. It's not 3 hours, but it's possibly the longest podcast we've ever done. So do you know what? Stick your feet up if you can.
Make yourself a cup of tea.
Make yourself a cup of tea if you can. Grab some biscuits because we've got them in front of us. And we'll see you on the other side of this shiny musical interlude. Well, hey there everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of Life Downloaded. Can you believe we've got this far, Sam?
10 double figures.
Like 1 and a 0
I
at
know.
the same time.
I'm so impressed that we haven't killed one another. Or, kind of said, this is enough, can't work with you anymore. Had a diva moment. But we made it.
We did.
We made it. I feel like a pat on the back.
Well, yeah, I can just about do that to myself. There we go. Pat on the back to myself.
And to commemorate our 10th episode, we have a very, very fabulous, glamorous guest with us. We have beautiful, I want to get your name correct, Alexandra, how do you pronounce it?
Kutas, yeah.
Kutas, there you go. You sounded say it much more elegantly than me. So you have given me a run for my money because as our listeners, if you listen regularly, know that I make zero effort. I'm normally greasy hair and pyjamas. I've kind of actually washed my hair today and put makeup on. And I'm really glad because Alexandra is sat here in a beautiful outfit with stunning red lipstick. So I feel a little bit like, threatened by this. I might need to go.
Aww.
I might need to go for like a quick break, go to the bathroom, and like come out in a completely different wardrobe. But anyway, welcome to Life Downloaded.
Well, you look fabulous.
Oh, bless you. She's lying completely. But welcome. Thank you so much. And I hear that you have only been in the UK for a year.
Yeah.
Or in London, specifically London.
Yeah, specifically UK and London. Same. Yeah.
Amazing. You're a newbie.
Yeah.
Newbie.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
No, that's what London does to you. It takes your soul and drains you.
That's why I don't live here. That's why I don't live here, everybody. And just for the record, I'm not looking that glamorous. I'm sat here in a Glastonbury hoodie and ripped jeans.
It's alright.
I did shave though.
You did shave. That's
Isn't
more
that
than I
the
get.
life, right? That men just need to shave.
Roll
and
out
they're
of
like,
bed.
I'm fabulous.
Exactly. Roll out of bed. That's alright. Put a bit of deodorant on. I mean, even sometimes I don't even do that. So, for our lovely listeners, who the heck are you? What are you doing here? Why have you gate crashed our episode 10? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm just here for, snacks.
Free
and
food.
Yeah, snacks and drinks. I don't know, I just feel usually when people introduce me at the events, when I give a speech,
Yes.
and they list all the things that, I've done.
You've accomplished.
It feels like, oh God, is that about me? It feels very, not like surrealistic in a way.
Oh yeah, no, but I get that though. I'm quite modest. I don't like people kind of being nice about me in a weird way, and when they say so I completely get that. I get a little bit shy, but you are a model.
Yeah, world's first.
And there you go. So you are a wheelchair user.
Yes.
So this is really fun. I've got a tiny little flat and there's 3 wheelchairs. So proper wheelchair orgy going on right now.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. So yeah, you are originally from the Ukraine.
Yeah.
What's life like when you have a disability in the Ukraine? What's that like?
Ukraine, not the Ukraine.
Oh, sorry. Oh, correcting me.
Important political thing. Yeah, please.
I love it.
Yeah, so Ukraine. I'm originally from Ukraine, a city named Dnipro. I was born there and raised there and basically lived my whole life there until last year. Life in Ukraine is made me who I am. Let's put it this way, and it's challenging in many different ways, but at the same time, it's the country which is also quite young. We got our independence in just 1991 from USSR. So it's the place where, in the way, a lot of things is, difficult to change, but in the other way, it is possible to make something very, very new and very, something very unusual.
There's that opportunity there, isn't there?
Yeah, so on the one side, it's very difficult. On the other side, there's a lot of niches that you can, do things in. I was very blessed for my parents' attitude that because I had a birth injury.
Okay.
So I never walked in my life since. They decided they made a decision in 2000 to, send me to regular school.
Okay, the mainstream school, yeah.
Yeah, which was very new back there. So I was the only kid in a wheelchair in the whole school.
Wow.
And my school wasn't accessible, but I feel like that age when you're 6 years old, and I was the only kid with disability in my class, but no one ever had any issues, questions. Actually, it was funny because after graduation, I realized that during my whole life, and no one really asked me why I'm in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Because they just saw me from the way, everyone when they're 6 years old, it's just, and they go to new environments, everyone's just scared.
Of course.
Everyone's just, little scared kid. And so they just knew that Alexandra is, just the way she is.
You. See, that's really interesting. I mean, Dad, I don't know about you. I went to, quote unquote, right at the beginning of my school year, so 4 or 5, I went to a special school. Because that was just where they put us all, to assess where we were. And it just wasn't the right school for me. I was with a mix of children, but mostly with children with learning disabilities. And for me, that was quite hard because communication was very difficult. I had a physical disability, and then they then said, no, this isn't for you, so I went to a mainstream school when I was about 6. I came a little bit later, but like you just said, the kids, if they described me, it would be Sam with the long blonde hair and the silly glasses. I used to have really stupid glasses when I was a child.
That's a picture for Instagram.
I know, I'll have to dig it out for you.
Find one.
Yeah, but it was only when I went to high school, so I had to go to a completely different high school to everyone, because the primary school that was linked to the high school I should have gone to, that high school was not accessible. It was a very, very old-fashioned school, and there was another school that was more accessible. And as soon as I made that transition, about 11 years old, if you asked the kids who I was, they go, the girl in the wheelchair. So I think, it's this whole question of, where does racism come from? Where does discrimination come from? It's probably from parents who indoctrinate children rather than the children themselves. Because as you just said, you were just you, and no one ever really questioned your wheelchair.
Because they were exposed to it right from the start.
Exactly. How about you, Dan? What were your early experiences like?
Yeah, I mean, mine were very similar to yours, to be fair. In the fact that I went to a specialist school to start with, and then at sort of 5, they turned around and said, no, mainstream, off you go. And I was, one of the first people in my local area to go through the school.
Oh.
Siri didn't quite get that.
Siri didn't get that.
No,
Dan loves his technology. He's got to be the first bionic human, I can guarantee it.
I do. So there you go. You've now had 4 people in on this podcast. The 3 of us and Siri.
They're listening.
They're listening.
The government's listening.
Indeed. Let me turn Siri off.
Yes, please turn it off.
There we go.
So we can get back to our podcast.
But, yeah, so I went to mainstream school at 4-5. And again, I honestly can't remember my early school years. They obviously didn't affect me that much.
Which is quite nice.
Yeah. It might also be the fact that I've had too many bumps to the head being a wrestler. It could be either or. Who knows?
You've blocked it out completely.
Yeah. Who knows? But, yeah, I went to mainstream school. I do think, some of it is nature and nurture. And I think the thing at, 4, 5, 6, kids aren't aware of difference.
No.
And I think by the time you turn 11, you start to become aware of it.
Yes.
Whether that is nature or nurture.
Or external pressures, or feeling self-conscious.
Indeed.
But
yeah, I wasn't... For a long time, I was the only disabled kid in school, but then, others followed.
Every time someone says that, I just think of, I'm the only gay in the village,
yeah.
So I'm the only wheelchair in the village.
No.
I absolutely love it.
But, in all honesty, I really didn't meet that many other disabled people until my adult life.
And now look at you.
I know.
You sat in a room full of them.
I am. And they're all better looking than I am. It's terrible.
Hey, we all doing all right, don't worry. But it's interesting that you say your parents were very encouraging and that kind of shaped who you were. Because I think we're all of a similar age, and I know for a fact that I didn't have many role models with disabilities growing up. We were the only wheelchair users in the village, so to speak. So there wasn't anyone to emulate or anyone to say, you can do it and you can strive and you can achieve. And we're all sat here and we're all, not to be pig-headed, we're all extremely successful in our own fields despite everything. And I was just wondering, your parents obviously pushed you and were a positive influence on you. But what else? Because I genuinely remember being very, very young and just not understanding when people said no or can't or shouldn't or wouldn't. I genuinely didn't get it. I thought I was the dog's bollocks. I genuinely thought I was amazing. I was borderline narcissistic as a child. But I don't see that as a bad thing because I think that's given me my edge now.
Yeah.
But this goes back to the whole thing. And my parents, although they fought for me, my parents were very introvert. Very wallflowers.
So where did you come from?
I know where the heck did I come from. But my sister was very singing, dancing, and maybe that helped because I was can't even speak, in competition with my sister, who was one of them really annoying jazz hands. On the American TV show, going, I am amazing, and I can sing, and I can dance, and I do judo, and I'm amazing. So what about you? So apart from your parents, because obviously you've already said in your home country it was a challenge when you had a disability. I kind of want to know, what was that turning point where you're like, do you know what, sod everyone, I'm going to do this? Or do you think it's always been in there? It's been an innate drive?
It's a good question because I've been quite shy when I was a kid, and I would say the confidence and all this comes with the time, and also on the parents' point, I think one of the biggest, since everything, it's like everything wasn't accessible. There was nothing which was really accessible. There was so it kind of made me not to care about it at all, because it's like it wasn't, you can go here but you can't go here because here is accessible, here
you
is
can't
not.
go anywhere.
You just can't go anywhere. So you stop to care about these obstacles, and you're like you in a way, I think in a positive way, it's taught me not to see the obstacles, because if there are obstacles everywhere and all the time, you just stop to care about them. In terms of how did I find it, I think it was much more for me, like always, about the purpose and about it's like, if I'm in the room and you need to go in front and speak with it, like in front of everyone, it's not because, there are some people who are capable and happy to do that just because they feel like it, just because there's something in them that pushes them to, they feel really great to be in attention. And I feel that...
Hashtag me.
Yeah.
And I
Take
feel
two.
that only once I'm very confident about what I want to say. Like, once there is something inside of me.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
like, oh, here you go. This is something which I, really want to do.
Yeah, you can't just be a token, can you? I suppose that's what you're saying.
This is what came for me with my, like, modeling career and about the role models. I've never seen, like, anyone in a wheelchair growing up, and there was no, like, in a wheelchair role model, as well as in the fashion world back there. I've never seen anyone, like, in movies or in the TV or in the, like, advertisements, magazines or anything like that. But thinking back right now, I don't know. It's I still didn't feel like, oh, if no one liked me there, I'm not sure I shouldn't be there. That wasn't the line in my mind. But something which really pushed me and inspired me was when after my first photo shoot, I really felt like I describe it. I felt more alive in front of the camera. Because I felt you can express anything you want, any emotions, and then see the beauty of it. And that was kind of like a very amazing experience. And I remember how I thought, oh, maybe I would want to do it more. I would want to do it more often. It's something which I really enjoy. And I started to look it up if there is anyone, with a disability and in the fashion world. And there was just one thing which I found back there, which was more like 10 years ago. It was Emily Miles in 1999 as a runway model for Alexandra Kutas show.
Oh, wow.
And it was so beautiful. I was just stunned by he made for her a special out of wood prosthesis, which matched very beautifully with her dress and outfit and the whole look. And I think like what struck me the most is how while she was walking on the runway, like no one could ever think that she has any kind of disability because she was just a beautiful woman. And afterwards, when people like found out that it wasn't a special like pants or something that was like her out of wood prosthesis legs, and it looked even like cooler than regular legs. And I felt like I love that. This is exactly what I love about it. How she was just incredibly beautiful the way she is, and in that way. So that inspired me, and from that moment, I started to have a dream to do a runway show where someone would be able to look at the, woman in a wheelchair and feel the same way as I felt when I was looking at that runway show of Alexandra McQueen. With Emily Miles. So this was something which I would say was a big inspiration and a big motivator for me. I felt like this is what someone done, in similar fields, but I would want to find people that we could do it our way.
So there's one thing going from you feeling inspired and being determined. How did you then transcend from that being your dream and your drive to convincing the fashion world to let you knock on their door, or was it
go on that runway?
Yeah, like what was your first big break? How did that happen? Were there any challenges, that were really glaring that people closing doors in your face, or do you think that you've had? Because I always think sometimes my achievements have just been pure right place, right time, pure luck. And I find it really difficult giving other people advice on how to, get into the industry of acting or presenting. For me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am a hard worker, but I genuinely think I'm a bit of a blagger. I do blag for my situation, to get into situations.
Yep, fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. So was, like, give us a little bit of detail on your kind of journey with respect to how have you progressed?
I also feel it's about like you keep trying in many different ways, and then suddenly something
Final happens.
Works out. I've started from, so it was 2015. I was living in a middle-sized city in Ukraine where there was no really fashion happening, and I really wanted to find a fashion designer. So first I started. I decided that this is the time when I want to do this, and I pulled out the list of designers. I chose the one that I liked. I started to call them. I guess it was really hilarious because some girls.
So you picked up the phone, literally.
I picked up the phone, literally. I started to call them, and actually some of them said that this idea sounds interesting, and but like this season they're not going to put the runway show or something like that.
Okay.
So some brands were like, oh, this is not in our in our style. We're not extraordinary. Like we're not
edgy.
We're not edgy. Yeah, exactly. So then I felt not really going anywhere with this. So in my list also there was the context of Ukrainian Fashion Week people who organize it. So I decided like maybe I don't go directly to designers, maybe I go to the people who know designers.
Yeah.
So I wrote to them and they said like, well, we don't know who would want to work with you on that, who wouldn't. But what we can do is we have the program where we like invite girls to volunteer at the Fashion Week.
Okay, cool.
So if you want, like, it's going to be in a couple of weeks, you can come to Kiev and you can do that.
Oh, lovely.
And I felt like, oh, this is
a stepping stone.
Yeah. This is an opportunity to go and just meet people out there. And so I went I had again like a list in my mind of fashion designers who were known as like being open-minded or as doing something extraordinary on the runway show. And interestingly enough, on my first day, I went there and I met actually the designer who
you wanted to.
How I thought in my mind would be the one
who would take you
who
on.
Who would be interested in the concept. And he looked at me. He was like, I think it's just a temporary, he's like, I know that the West is doing it a little bit here and there, but I think it's just a temporary thing. And
the zeitgeist of the moment.
So he's like, I don't think it's something which, I guess his point was, he doesn't think that it's something which is gonna be on the runway. It should be in the permanent, like we should break into and keep going. And
he wasn't brave enough, clearly.
And I was like, oh, and it was very because he was the one who I was looking up, up to.
You should never meet your heroes.
And
just put that out there.
I was like, oh God. But interestingly enough, I felt like, okay, then it's not him. Then I should keep looking, and I kept looking. And this is actually a very funny story. How confidence and determination, I guess. So I told to all the other girls out there who are working as well at the Fashion Week, I said, if you see any, because there's so many guests, like thousands of people every day come and go, and I'm like, if you see any designer, please let me know. Like, knock on my shoulder, and I'm gonna go and talk to them. And one of the girls came to me and she was like, oh, here's the designer that you like, and his name was. And I went to him and I'm like, hi, I introduced myself. And so the funny thing is that the designer who I was looking for was named Andre.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm like, oh, hi, Andre, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not Andre, I'm Andre. And I'm like, I thought, oh, that's fine. Like, if you want me to call you different, like a little bit different, that's fine. And I kept going. And he kept listening to me, and then he looked at me and he's like, when I finally finished my, speech, how it's important, how we're going to change the world and stuff, and he looked at me like, I'm so sorry, but I'm really not that guy. I'm not a designer, but I'm a fashion photographer.
Oh, wow.
And I think that what I love your vision, and I'd love to work with you. on the
Amazing.
project. And first I felt so embarrassed because, I was
You
just...
thought it was a different person.
I thought it was a different person. And actually they look alike, funny enough. They really look alike, and there were even like a picture of them together in the fashion industry, like, joking how they look alike and have a similar name. But one is a famous photographer and another is a famous fashion designer. And that's when that was a big, that actually, so again, funny enough, that night I came back home, and after, I guess, all of this, excitement with nervous and feeling like I didn't really achieve anything because I didn't meet any designers, I cried because, I felt...
Just a relief.
Yeah, just a relief. And I also felt, it was that moment when you're going around at the fashion week and everyone looks so fabulous and so fancy. And people look kind of arrogant many times.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Not kind of, a lot. And you look out there and you feel I felt very insecure and I felt very like, what am I doing here? Because I'm obviously I'm different from them. And people look at you still a little bit with this like
pity or
we're tolerated that you're here kind of
okay yeah.
That kind of look. And what I told myself at that moment, I was like, well, it is a call. Am I keep going or just turn around, go back home, and never go again? And then I was okay. I'll just imagine that. I'll just think how I've been already on the Vogue cover. It's just not in this country. And just here, no one knows about it. But I already been there. I already accomplished it, and I just need to. I already know that about myself. So I just need to, keep going here and talking to people with this knowledge that I've already done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really helped.
Good.
And that really kind of, made me feel more relaxed and not to be worried about how people, think or look. I actually, this is a funny thing, but I think with age and with experience, I think I stopped...
caring.
Noticing
as well.
When people are looking at me. And I guess when I was a kid, it was because it was so unusual to see someone in a wheelchair. With the age, it was actually funny enough that that I became famous and people were looking at me because they recognized me. But I still wasn't noticing that.
Yeah,
there was something which I just don't notice.
I think you do. I think with age, I'm 33 now, and I definitely think my 30s have been very empowering for me as a woman, and just not really caring. Just even little things like not wearing makeup when I go out. I would never do that. I love fashion, and I've always done fashion for me, so experimenting with clothing, gone out for me, not because I wanted to prove to anyone else. But thinking back to my teenage years and even my early 20s, I would spend so much time doing things for others, or concentrating so much on, instead of investing in myself, but just what others thought about me. And I thought, goodness me, if I would have conserved that energy, and put it invested in my own time. But I think what you said earlier about that it could have gone either way, so you could have let that affect you and given up. I had that experience when I was a teenager doing acting, and my teacher said to me, well, people like you won't get anywhere. And I was 15. Being 15, you're already, hormones are going everywhere. You don't feel that confident anyway, so I gave up. I'm very grateful that I returned to it a lot later on. But isn't it funny that I think what you said, if someone said that to me now, I'd be like, shut up. I don't care what you think. And also, going back to giving advice, because it is difficult. We have been in situations that have led to our success. But I think you and I can, and you probably can say the same, networking and taking risks and being bold are really key. I think a lot of people expect opportunities to come to them,
that
never happens. No. You have to be proactive. I mean, Dan, your modelling experience, because you are a male model,
I
aren't you,
am.
my
I
darling?
am by no means as successful as our lovely guest, but I have, been on the catwalk for London Graduate Fashion Week this year, and done photographic modelling here and there at various points. Modelling for me was one of those stumbling into things. I was already acting, and somebody said, "Come here. You don't look too bad in a still picture. Come and have your picture taken." So I've kind of stumbled into it, and it's not the driver of my career. I've just been fortunate enough to do some of it. But I think we've all had that moment of, is this right for me? I remember when I finished my A-levels and I said I want to be an actor, so I went and auditioned for all the major stage schools, so places like Central School of Speech and Drama and RADA and Rose Bruford and places like that. So when I finished my A-levels, I went and auditioned for all of those places. And one of my A-level drama teachers jokingly said, "Oh, Dan, if only you were gay and black, you'd tick every minority box and you might get a place."
Wow.
As a joke. And it was taken in good jest. But that was the state of stage schools, and there's still a lot of issues. Still a lot of issues.
I mean, I don't even
stage
know
schools.
how you, as a wheelchair user, I mean, even with any form of impairment, how you would access, institutions like RADA, who are...
They're getting better.
They're fantastic, but equally...
They've got a lot of work to do.
They're very stuck in their own way, because it's such a iconic institute.
Essentially, a lot of the stage schools, and this is by no means a comment on them now, but especially when I was coming through auditioning for stage schools, on average, you have 2,500 auditionees for 30 places. Yeah. So the standard is high to begin with. But B, also, they were of the opinion that, can you really get work in the industry? Yeah. Because essentially, they want to be able to go, when you've graduated,
you're an investment.
Look at all our graduates that are working in TV, film, and so on and so forth. So I, auditioned for all of them and didn't get the place. And then I bounced for a couple of years around doing all kinds of weird and wonderful jobs. I was a receptionist at a casino. I was a receptionist for Royal Mail.
It's like I don't know you at all, Dan. It's like you are this double ninja person.
Oh, I have many a secret, Miss Rank. Thankfully, none that will be splashed across the Daily Mail.
We'll do a late night live downloaded, and we'll expose everything.
Oh, invite me too.
I know. I feel like we can't touch on that because it's nice and bright outside, and we're drinking tea with biscuits. It's not that kind of vibe.
It's not that kind of vibe.
We'll all come back and we'll all be in like leather S&M gear. What do you reckon?
I'm sure you may have leather S&M gear.
I'll get the cat dressed up as well. I'll get Lola.
Sat there like a Bond villain. Sat there like a Bond villain. But yeah, no. So, I went through that phase for a year, 2 years, going, the industry wasn't for me. And then I lied to my parents and said, would you support me if I went and did a drama degree and then became a teacher after it? Never became a teacher.
Never happened. Yeah. You conned them out of their money.
I did. Well, I say their money. I lived at home and had a student loan. But yeah, they kindly supported me, and now I'm in the industry. So I think all three of us have had those moments where you've
could have gone either way.
Could have gone either way.
I think it's interesting. You wanted to touch upon employment in the UK as well, and I think still what I'm finding, even though I came to London, I didn't come to be an actor. I came to work in the charity sector from doing teaching. I was a trustee for a charity, and I thought, hang on, I love this, but I want to get paid. So I Googled, where are all the charities, like HQ, and they were all down here. So I thought, and also I liked partying in London. So I was like, let's move to London. I know, me partying. So I moved, and how I got into acting was a complete fluke. I mean, I had the passion and I had the drive, but still had that teacher in my head going, what's the point? But I think even now, even though I've had some successful acting roles and won awards for, kind of films I've been in, etc. It's still hard work, and that's why I have, now I'm doing radio a lot, I do writing, I'm getting more into presenting. I think you need to really look at different avenues, because even though, the times are changing for the better, which is great, but it's still bloody difficult.
It is.
It's still bloody difficult, and for me, even like...
Definitely not something which is stable.
No, not at all. And even just on a practical level, I was recently doing a panel, talking on a panel about businesses and how they can, improve inclusion. And I said to me, they just don't get disability, particularly in the industry, in the sense of what living with a disability is on a daily basis. Now, I know my needs are very different to yours and your needs are very different to Dan's, but there are still some core kind of infrastructure that we all would benefit from. So, for example, I know, I have, ramps. That would be a nice one. I've got a PA, and I'm limited to when my PA can come to work. She's got children, etc. Now, I can get to an audition on my own. I can go and work on a film on my own. But actually, when I rock up there, normally it's not accessible. Or normally they don't have X, Y, and Z. So if I had the opportunity to bring a PA with me, that would be amazing, Yet with the industry, they are buggers for literally going, right, we'll give you that date, we'll give you that date, we'll give you that date. So you've got them dates, and then they go, no. So we've changed it now. So it's going to be that date, that date, that date. So you go, okay, right, I've rearranged everything now with my PA, And they go, oh no, sorry. So we're going to scrap that, and we're going to do one day here and one day there. So that drives me up the wall. I even did a show the other day, and it said on the email, you can't bring anyone with you because the green room gets too full. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, okay, but what if you need to bring someone with you? Mm. Now, I'm fine to be going like, hello, I'm bringing someone with me because I need someone to help me. But what if you don't have that savviness about you? What message is that sending out to someone going, you can't? So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would be turned off and would turn down work because of small ignorances. Because it's not done maliciously, things like that, is it? Or when I go up to an audition and there's one step.
You hope not.
It's not done out of, we're going to exclude you. It's just done out of stupidity and ignorance. I think they're the biggest barriers that I face. Just little things that, for someone like me who has got anxiety on top of having my impairment, it can be soul destroying, and it can really impact my work and getting to work. And I have turned down work when my anxiety's been that bad, because I knew I couldn't get there safely on my own, or I knew for a fact that it would be not a very good building for me to navigate through. I've just said no, and I've made up really, really, I hope my agent isn't, listening, but I've made up really stupid excuses, because that fear of going somewhere and it not being accessible, even though I go, yeah, it's fine, it's accessible. I don't know why I keep doing this weird voice.
That is like your industry voice.
Do you know what it is? My mum. My mum's German, and me and my sister, when we were younger, used to take the piss out of my mum all the time and do like a funny little voice. I sound like a really nice person, don't I? We don't do that anymore. Oh no, we do.
I was going to say,
we actually do. We always go, because Mum used to drink wine, and she was go, I only had 2 glasses. I'm like, Mum, you drank the bottle. That's not 2 glasses. 2 glasses.
Unless she's got really
big glasses. Anyway, so yes, pick our brain on employment and your challenges that you're facing, and what maybe we can give you some advice, and I'm sure our advice might help others listening.
Yeah.
Oh God, I feel
that put you on the
there's
spot.
a lot. There's such a complex thinking here, because on the one side, I feel like in the UK specifically, there is also a law, and I got the feeling that people are afraid that what happens if you come into work and something happens, and place is not really that accessible. If there's a fire and they don't know what to do with you, and So
leave it to burn.
You say that, but like, I mean, I've stayed in loads of hotels, and it always makes me laugh that you have to fill out the evacuation plan when hotels remind you that you need to fill out the evacuation plan, because so many forget, even though by law they're supposed to do it. And then, like, depending on how the hotel's built, you have to sit between two fire doors and hope for the best.
And hope for the best.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have a feeling
I love it.
this is just, a lot of, like, sometimes I think they're, afraid that maybe you're not going to be that efficient. That
Or we're going to be ill all the time. We're going to take lots of time off work.
And it's just, I think they, since the competition is high, and there are a lot of people who are looking for a job, and especially in a city like London, so, people come from all the kinds of backgrounds.
I mean, you've picked a really tough city. Anyway,
it's a very... so I feel, things are changing fast and things are moving fast. So I get the feeling that people sometimes, think, we don't... If they don't have... if they never had experience before with someone with disability working for them, so they might be a little bit like, we have to have more trust. They see it as
well, it's a hassle. Let's just say what it is. They see it as a hassle. They think it's going to cost money, when we know that actually it won't cost money, because there are a lot of government organised, schemes that companies can apply for, access to work, etc., that will help transform. But people, let's face it, they can't be bothered a lot of the time because of their prejudices. They assume, like you just said, that we won't have the experience, we won't be able to handle the high pressure of working in an environment. Would they have to put a ramp in? Would they have to do X, Y, and Z? Will you be, they're like a pregnant woman. I mean, probably, the only saving grace is that because we don't have sex, because we're disabled women.
Oh yeah, never happens. Never happens.
We will never get pregnant. So we will never take maternity leave. So actually,
there you go. See,
we are really employable, aren't we?
Yeah, and as a disabled man, of course, I never have sex. If you believe the media.
No,
my girlfriend might argue the point.
But I think you're right. I think the creative industry has changed for the good. I think there's more opportunity for us in that field because we are like I keep saying the word token, and it is all about let's get diverse. But then if you're just talking about a bog standard office job, whatever, I'm sure it's still quite prehistoric in their thinking.
Sometimes I'm invited as a speaker to talk about mental health and the fashion industry to different companies, or about diversity, and I never really met. And I come to really great companies, but still, I don't see people in wheelchairs and with disabilities working out there on a daily basis. It does happen, and it's much better than in most of the countries around the world. But I feel, I think for me, it was always also when I moved to the UK. When you're living in the country where most of the things are inaccessible, and it's been, very, very difficult. You feel like there should be a place in this world where things are really much, much better and really good. And I moved to London because I know it's one of the most accessible city in the world. And
back to differ. No, I'm joking.
It is. But then you start to see that in so-called paradise, it's not really paradise at all, and how
we can always improve.
How challenging it is, how difficult it is. It's just on a bit different level. But
I think you're battling two things, and I would also like to say that I wrote an article on this because I work with muscular dystrophy, and they did a really good report on this. And people with impairments submitted their CV and stated their impairment, and then the same CV got submitted and they didn't, and basically it showed that the ones that didn't state their impairment, they all got offered interviews, and so there is definitely that prejudice. But then when I wrote this for the Metro, and the Metro, they write the heading of it, and I think that I don't have control over that, and I think the heading was disabled people want to work, you're just not giving us opportunities. And I got quite a lot of backlash from other disabled people saying not all of them do. So we also need to have a look from playing devil's advocate. We also need to look at, well, actually, there are some people within the community that, because maybe not through their own fault, because of, being told they can't or being, face adversity all the time, they are quite happy not to work necessarily. So I think you've got that mix as well. I think we need to encourage people with impairments to go out and do things, and give them that confidence. So you've got your prejudice from companies that are saying, no, we don't really want you because you're probably going to cost a lot of money. But then we've also got a subsection of people that maybe are like, do you know what? No. Why should I when it's too hard? It's too hard work to face them barriers, So I think there's different angles, and until we get a nice balance, until we encourage more people and we look at how people can gain higher education, I don't, that's where I think that's where we're being blocked a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a case of there is a solid core of disabled people that do want to work.
Yeah.
There are a solid core of people that isn't an option for.
There's that as well.
Yeah.
But then there are also people that just don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're in a wheelchair, just because you're disabled, doesn't mean that you're a great person. And it's like, you can be an arse and be lazy and not want to do something. You know what I mean? And use your disability as a perfect excuse to be like, no, I'm not going to get out there and work.
By the way, guys, if you can hear helicopters and builders...
Oh, yeah, it's really loud today.
It's all got really loud and really noisy. So if I can't edit it out, you know what's going on.
Sorry. I'm just going to start eating crisps as well, just to add
more noise.
What do you reckon?
Why not? But yeah, like any group of people, there's people that are going to want to work, people that are not going to want to work. Whether you've got an impairment or not is,
No, I know. I just felt I needed to say that because when we talk about inclusion, I always seem quite bad on institutions. For them, they're the ones that are excluding us. When actually, it works both ways.
Yeah, it does.
But how is it? How can you how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to be independent?
Well, because we've got a welfare system, and actually, when you have a disability. There's a lot of funding. I mean, I know it's gotten harder in the past years, but there's funding out there that will really support you. Mm-hmm. And
can you live this life?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, you're not going to be going on holiday every 5 minutes, but I would say back me up. I would say it's not. It's difficult. You're not going to starve. Mm-hmm. You're not going to starve. It's all relative because if you live with home with parents, you might have support there. If you live in London, it's going to be higher there, So you can apply for, there are, lots of things. But then, having said that, a lot of disabled people are living below the poverty line, But it would be very different maybe to other countries,
Yeah.
So actually, in that respect, probably the UK has got the best plan. And don't forget, healthcare is free over here as well. So I think I know I've got a lot of friends in America with my condition and they really struggle. Mm-hmm. So yes, we're not rolling in money and it's not like you're living, the best life. But in comparison with other infrastructures, I think the UK, would you agree, Dan? The UK isn't doing too badly.
Yeah, it's not doing too badly, but that doesn't mean either that it is by any means perfect.
Oh, no. But you're not going to... I don't think you would starve.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm not so strong in my belief. I think you could survive, but there's a very big difference between surviving and living a life. And I think that, as much as we've said, like in any core of people, there are disabled people that don't want to work. I think a lot of disabled people may or may not be scared.
But this is what I'm saying.
Because of internalised ableism, rather than I don't want
No,
to.
completely. But this is why we need to look at, making the environment better. Like I get it. Like I've been put off wanting to work because of my anxiety and because they've closed my street the other day to do electrics, and then I couldn't get out of my home. So there's a lot going against us. But what I'm saying is, it's
This is why I guess you need to have this
it's a massively complex
Yeah.
issue.
very, you have to have an inner feeling and purpose of like what it gives.
Strength.
Definitely not, because let's agree, we all do it, not just anyone. It's not just about money.
No, of course.
And so it's about your, giving your self-worth, your feeling of fulfillment, that you are capable of, solving big issues. And so maybe also if people have more experience of, it's giving you dopamine, like when you...
Yeah, of course it is.
So once you have that already arranged, like even if I had an opportunity to stop working ever again, I don't need it because I have money. I would still be interested in keep doing things.
Yeah, you do philanthropy, you do you learn to crochet.
There's no way.
I'm never learning to crochet. I'd like to throw that out there. It's not happening.
So there is no way that you would just stop living life.
Well, yeah.
And I think we need people need to keep pushing, keep trying, keep applying. While understanding like why do you need it and what exactly you're looking for, and looking for the companies which are will be like, oh yeah, we be actually also honest about yes, I'm afraid that maybe someday I won't because the train's gonna be broken, or the lift is gonna be broken, I won't be able to come
work because of external factors.
But it happens to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you don't get childcare, you might have to stay at home.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. Like, you've got to, not just because you're disabled doesn't mean we're going to face different obstacles or different challenges. But everyone's got obstacles and challenges in their lives, and I think that's how we need to change the whole how society sees disability and get rid of those negative kind of prejudice attitudes.
But I think also companies shouldn't forget that once you start to work, someone with disability start to work, and you got a good match. This person is going to be very loyal to you as well. So they're not gonna, if your company has some struggle at the moment and someone offered them better money, they might not just run away from you immediately at all.
Because they appreciate the
opportunity. They appreciate the attitude. They appreciate your, understanding of their value. So it's maybe sometimes at the beginning it might be a little bit more of investment in terms of you have to think, or you have to, be like, oh, okay, maybe we need to, check if our place is really accessible and listen to this person needs and take care of it. But in the long term, this is someone who's going to be really beneficial. And
I agree. And just to clarify, I was playing devil's advocate earlier. This wasn't my thoughts. I think it's all relative, and I think everyone's journey is very different. I think from me, now I'm very similar to you. I meet a lot of different people, and I work with a lot of different companies about inclusion, acceptance, and people within the disabled community. And it's been really interesting for me when people tell me what they think, So I like to throw out what I hear, before anyone shouts at me on the podcast.
When I was working on this similar project, like about employment in Ukraine, I had that weird thing when people, like the companies would be like, oh, we want so much, we're so ready, we want diversity, we want people with disabilities, but just no one applies. Can you imagine? Like, no one really applies, and I was like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah, we're so great, and we really want to, but nothing happens. It's so sad. And then you just like, oh, okay, so that's weird. But do you understand? Like, the city is inaccessible, for instance, in Ukraine. So people, you need to help with the transportation.
Yeah.
And they're like, ooh, transportation.
We don't want to pay for that.
We don't want to pay for that. Like, that person have to work from home. Ooh, working from home, but this is not, we need the person to be in here. And like, okay, so wait a second, let's go back to the conversation we had 5 minutes ago. You so want to, you're so ready, just no one applying to. But actually, when we're talking the details, you're not that one, ready. You're not ready to think about, okay, maybe, how we collaborate with some kind of company on transportation, how do we, knock on the doors of the government and ask money for that. And they're like, oh, and people with disabilities, who've been trying to apply and then face this, they're just kind of give up.
Yeah, of course, and I understand why.
Yeah, they understand why, because you just stop to think that,
it's
what's
too hard
the
work.
Like,
if you're already exhausted getting to work because of X, Y, and Z, then you're not going to perform anyway.
No.
And I think,
it's like, you keep applying, and then also people might start to think, okay, maybe I would say I want to know your guys' opinion about. I feel sometimes it's so blurry when you're applying for a job and you don't get it, and you don't really know, is it because of your experience, not enough, or is it because somewhere behind the doors they just. Because nowadays people have interviews on Skype, so you never see their office or anything. So, and you like, maybe they just talked about it and thought like, oh God, we're actually not accessible, but no one's going to tell you that.
No.
You won't, and this is where the grey area is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're never going to know.
And this is so blurry, because also I feel like sometimes the issue might be that people are afraid of that, how we're going to do with it.
Of course.
But on the other side, people who are applying, they might get very discouraged, not just because of their disability, but because how kind of professionals they are. And they're going to be like, oh, if I keep getting no's for my CV and for the things that I apply, maybe my degree is not enough. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe I'm not so good at. Maybe I'm just not good for that job as a professional. Because not just because maybe people and this is so blurry to me.
It is blurry, and I don't think you'll ever know. And I think if you were to turn around and say you've discriminated against me because I'm disabled, because you don't get to see the other candidates. You know, and there might be someone absolutely more amazing than you. And I think this is where what I've been hearing, again, doing a lot of talks about inclusion, some people, and this goes for race, gender, you know, a lot of people who maybe don't fit in that box, and they get their nose put out because they go, well, actually, I've got better qualifications, I'm more prepared for this, but you have gone and got the person in the wheelchair. Or you've gone and got the black lady, or because you need to fit a quota. And I think this is where we are now in society, because people are now getting a little bit scared of not being inclusive, and they are maybe going for people because they tick a box.
Yeah. So, and this is so blurry, right?
This is so blurry.
Because sometimes they don't give because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do give because, they just want to tick all
but because they're afraid as well.
Yeah, because they're afraid as well. So this is just like, God, where are we
It's a mind fuck. That's what it is.
Where are we heading as a society? When it's going to be more maybe transparent way of treating people, on their profession? And again, like, how can you know for sure if someone is really good for this job, actually?
Yeah, you don't.
How
proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Yeah, like people say that all these interviews, and it's already, we know it's broken. We know it doesn't really work. We know that after someone can be extremely charming and know how to talk to you.
Yeah, that's what the talk.
And someone can be very shy, but also really have very good qualifications. they don't know how to present
But
themselves.
this
in
is
the best
it,
way.
exactly, and this is why it's important that we understand invisible disabilities as well,
Yeah.
particularly when we're looking at someone with autism, you know, who would not who might not do as well in a interview environment,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
someone like me who has got the gift
Mhm.
of the mouth, you know, might exceed that. But I think it's really interesting. I don't think you'll actually ever know. That's the sad thing. I don't know about you, Dan. I mean, you work for Equity, don't you?
I do, which is the trade union for actors and performers, and a lot of, not entirely, but a lot of the entertainment and performing arts industry. And it is a challenge. And the issue is, it's always a double-sided coin, because there you could give the best performance, especially in our industry. You can give the best performance on the day, but our industry is one of the few industries that if you don't look like people want you to look like, they can go.
Doesn't matter how good you are.
And they can do that entirely legally. So it's a challenge.
You know, when I was in India, I as a model, I was signed with a modeling agency over there, and I worked there for 3 months. And so I had a situation when my booker would come to me and she'd be like, "Oh, you know, we got a call today. Someone saw you on our website, and they were like, we love her so much. When is she available? We have this campaigns coming up, and we just really want to have her. How much? When?" Now we want, and she's like, they started to discuss the business, and then where the photo shoot's going to be there, and she's like, oh, so the place is accessible for the photo shoot, especially, you know, it's India, and they're like, accessible? Wait a second. And they didn't realize I'm in a wheelchair.
Really?
Yeah, they saw mostly of headshots, and they kind of didn't read about me. So and they once they saw some picture in the wheelchair, they thought maybe it's just
like a prop.
Yeah, and I'm like, and once they found out that no, she can't stand. No, she you know, even though probably the photo shoot you wouldn't even include. You know, it could be a headshot, but they just immediately turn it down.
Well, I think there is a clean cut discrimination there, isn't there? But I think not every situation is as obvious as that, and I think this is where you get into the grey area. I think my advice for people is, you know, even if you think that it might be because of discrimination, don't let that kind of put you off applying. I think that's the only advice that I'd give.
This is the thing. Is like with Equity, I often talk to companies, and big companies and small companies. We're talking huge companies in terms of entertainment and media. They go, it's not possible. I then turn around and tell them they're talking absolute bollocks, and it is entirely possible. And we're at a state, especially when it comes to disability employment as a whole. You know, there are lots of similarities across minority groups where we all face similar challenges, be that race, gender, whatever. But I am very firmly of the opinion that disability is in fact the furthest behind in terms of its progression as an equality movement. And
it is.
And it's a fact of it's scary for employers, but it's not as scary as they think it is, and it takes people like us in this room and deaf and disabled people all over the country, all over the world, that aren't necessarily in the media to go, we can do it, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to change it, this is what I need. And it's sad that we're at that point, but we are still very much at that point in 2019. So I applaud all the deaf and disabled people that are out there, whatever industry you work in, that are making the strides to tell your industry that, you know, it's absolute trash. And I think we are as, 30-somethings as you and I are just for this podcast, I think we are, the generation before us and our generation are still very much trailblazing.
Yeah.
And hopefully the generation after us, they've still got work to do.
Yeah.
Without
It'll
question.
be much easier.
But they'll have less of it.
Yeah.
And, this isn't going to be a quick change. We're not going to wake up in the morning and the world is going to go, oh my God, like disabled people are amazing.
And they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. The social model is going to take over and everybody's going to be happy. It's not going to happen. But even if, I've got friends now that have just changed jobs recently and they're working as disability advisors for some of the biggest businesses in the country. Mutual friends of yours and mine. They've moved out of the arts industry and are now working in the equalities industry in different places. And it's about generational skips. So we were the first generation to go into mainstream school.
Yeah.
The generation after us.
Think about it, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The generation after us are going to be the first generation to, be CEOs regularly.
Yeah. Be our lawyers, be our doctors.
Yeah. And there are still doctors and lawyers.
President.
Wives of presidents, husbands of presidents.
There are people that are trailblazing that path already, but those people trailblazing that path are going to make
minority within a minority.
And the minority within a minority at the moment. But hopefully, with trailblazing that path, they're going to make it easier for the generation after us. Because you've got to think, in British history, we were still locked up in institutions 50 years ago.
Oh, I know.
We disabled,
Scary.
deaf and disabled people and people with mental health issues were still locked away in asylums in a corner somewhere.
Scary, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So, we're not going to solve this overnight. But for those deaf and disabled people that can and want to, put yourself out there, join the fight.
Yes.
And help make the change, because it's going to be generational jumps. Hopefully, I still live in hope that a Hollywood film studio is going to ring me up and be like, damn, trailblaze.
I don't know why I'm laughing. Sorry, that wasn't
Thanks, love.
That was just more. That was a nervous laugh. Sorry.
But I'm hoping that one day that Hollywood studio will ring me up and be like, "Come trailblaze, come be the lead in this new film, and that's going to be a multi-million box office success, and we'll blow the doors off."
And there's going to be nothing about your disability.
No, exactly.
At all.
Indeed, that would
and
be.
It's going to be a movie, not just.
That would
and
be
your
wondrous.
character has nothing to do
Indeed,
with.
that would be absolutely wondrous.
But I would say, if I may, just say a final thought, because I'm very conscious that we've been rambling for an awful long time. Not ramblings, giving words of wisdom and wiseness.
Indeed, but it is the 10th episode.
It is the 10th episode. No, but I would like to say, if you have had doors slammed in your face, don't be disgruntled, but also, make your own, make your own path. So the joy of living in the world that we live in is that even if you can't get out as much as you want, or you struggle kind of getting into buildings or whatever challenges you face, it's like technology now is such an amazing thing that you can make your own opportunities. That's what I wanted to say. Start writing your own blog. Start investing in social media. You shape your own narrative. Don't let other people do it for you. And I think that's the one saving grace of having an impairment or being, blind or deaf in this era, is that actually we can shape where we want to go. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And I also want to say, when I talk to kids with disability, I'm excited for you. I know it's going to be tough, but I'm excited for you because, it's 2019 and I managed to be world's first something.
Yeah.
seriously, can you imagine how many opportunities you have? Your countries first, your cities first, your worlds first, in so many areas. Thanks to that you're have something special something different about you. And what helped me is whatever you hear now, whatever it's not about you. Just keep thinking about it, keep knowing that, and keep not letting anyone to think that it's not you not good enough, or it's about you. It's not about you. It's about how many tries you do, and at some point you definitely will meet the people who think the same way,
of course,
and who will buy into your vision and who buy into your passion. And sometimes it might be, as you said, you had in your career, you stuck for a moment, and then for some time, and sometimes it's good to take a break. To take care of yourself, to take a break, but then if there's something which is your calling, as I would say it, you come back to it, and you keep knocking, and just remember, it's not about you. You're fabulous, and you're doing your best.
Yeah. Hey, and on that note, Alexandra, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It was really fun.
I know we're gonna.
I'm looking for an invitation for the late night show.
I know, we need to get the late night show.
We keep talking about this late night show.
We really do, and the naked show as well, but I don't know right now. I don't know. It might not happen. But thank you for making our 10th episode such a memorable. That word.
Memorable, I think
really
is what you were
honestly,
memorable.
It's been a long week. And yeah, I'm so glad that we got to do this, and hopefully we will be doing more fun things in the future. But I think I'm really hungry now as well. Shock horror. I just really want the crisps that have been in front of me for this whole time. So from myself and Dan and Life Downloaded, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I enjoyed listening to you guys.
And yes, listeners, thank you for joining us on this triumphant episode.
Triumphant 10.
Triumphant 10. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Triumphant 10.
And feel free to reach out if there is anything you would like to
talk. What are your social medias? Do your social media things.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. If there's any
is that just your name?
Alexandra Kutas.
Yeah.
If you Google that.
If you Google that. You've got to go and do your plug. Amazing. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you for episode 11.
See you soon.
Bye, guys.